On this Tuesday night, the Foreign Affairs Minister and her team of negotiators are in Washington to see if Canada can make a deal on NAFTA. With just days till Donald Trump's imposed deadline, what's at stake in these negotiations? How dairy could spoil them, and the dispute over, well, how to resolve disputes. We'll break it all down.
Also tonight, we dig into a controversial autism therapy. There's no science to support it. It can be dangerous, so why is it still available in Canada?
And this man says he got PTSD from murdering a police officer. Why is Veterans Affairs paying for his treatment even though he's not a veteran? This is The National.
After sitting on the sidelines of NAFTA negotiations for weeks, tonight Canada is finally back in the game, but the clock is ticking down and fast. A deal has to be made by the end of this week. And as Katie Simpson explains, that's why Chrystia Freeland and her team dropped everything today and rushed to D.C.
Never before has Canada's arrival at NAFTA talks been so critical or so closely watched. This return to Washington may just be the start of the final push to get to a three-way trade deal.
This is really going to be a full steam ahead effort with a lot of groups working very intensively. This is a really big deal.
Canadian negotiators spent the day examining the preliminary agreement between the U.S. and Mexico announced hastily by Donald Trump yesterday, and they must figure out if the deal is something Canada can work with. The Foreign Affairs Minister suggested it's possible, given proposed improvements to auto sector labor standards.
Mexico was able to do something that I think must have been quite difficult for Mexico, and make those concessions does really set the stage for some productive conversations for us here this week.
But sources tell CBC News Canada is worried about a different proposed change to the dispute resolution system. The preliminary pact is expected to weaken what's known as Chapter 19, something Canada has said it will not accept. And there is another big tension point.
There's a word that Canada has trouble with. It's M-I-L-K, milk. Anything to do with milk and dairy. They're going to have to fix that.
Donald Trump's most trusted advisors are repeating his calls for Canada to kill the dairy regulation system called supply management.
We will engage in a positive and constructive way, as we always have been, and look forward to ultimately signing a deal as long as it is good for Canada and good for middle-class Canadians.
But if Canada doesn't act quickly, there are more suggestions it may get left behind.
We hope that they are resolved so that Canada can be part. If that is not the case, we would be ready to move forward. And, but that doesn't preclude, Bashi, Canada joining in future moments.
Senior Canadian officials tell me there is a reasonable chance of success. Some kind of deal can be reached by Friday. And it appears no time is being wasted, with the Canadians meeting the Mexicans tonight and the intensive talks resuming first thing tomorrow. Rosie.
Okay, Katie, so a lot of people are probably wondering, why is there a rush to try and get this done by Friday?
There are 2 points to that. The new Mexican president wants this wrapped up before he takes office on December 1st. And in order for that to happen, the U.S. Congress must complete its 90-day approval process. For the math to work out, they need this wrapped up by the end of the week.
Okay, Katie, you'll be on the story all week. Thank you.
Thanks.
Let's take a closer look now at one of the sticking points in those talks, dairy and poultry, protected in this country by something that you've heard the name already, supply management. Canada manages or controls the supply of milk, cheese, eggs, chicken, and turkey, and it limits foreign imports like U.S. dairy with some pretty steep tariffs. It controls the supply of what's available, but farmers also like it because it prevents cheaper American products from flooding in and forcing Canadians out of business. But Donald Trump is no fan of Canadian tariffs, and as Jayla Bernstein tells us, dairy farmers here are nervous that their sector will be sacrificed to appease the president.
Farming is nice, it's challenging, it's hard, it's frustrating sometimes. I mean, we do many hours. Then again, I mean, we don't take that much of salary. If you're not making money anymore, I mean, we're just asking for a decent salary and having our family farms.
Quebec dairy farmers feel they've already given up enough for international trade in 2 separate major trade agreements, one with Europe and one with Pacific nations. Canada agreed to open its dairy market slightly. Some estimate the cost to farmers is as high as $160 million a year. Now they're fearful NAFTA will also be negotiated on their backs, since their way of doing business remains in the crosshairs of the American president.
You know, they have tariffs of almost 300% on some of our dairy products, so we can't have that.
Those words weighed heavily on the minds of Quebec dairy farmers at a union meeting today.
I feel like there's a big cloud on top of my head.
With the other trade deals, Ottawa offered financial assistance to farmers hurt by the concessions. But dairy farmers say with NAFTA, there's so much more at stake.
It has a huge impact on Canada if we let go to supply management.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau insisted today he'll stand behind dairy farmers this time around.
My position on defending supply management has not changed. We will defend supply management.
We try to be positive and optimistic, but we're always afraid that we're going to pay again, and hope it's not going to be the case.
Strabel hopes his sons will someday take over the family farm, but their future on this land will be decided more than 900 kilometers away in Washington this week. Jayla Bernstein, CBC News, Montreal.
It's not just farmers nervously watching what happens in D.C. this week. That's because any changes to the 24-year-old NAFTA agreement will be important to the Canadian economy. Here's what's at stake. Some $2 billion worth of goods and services cross our border daily. That's a big number. Or put another way, every minute of every day, more than $1 million of trade crosses between the U.S.-Canada border. The United States is, of course, Canada's largest trading partner. In fact, 36 states count Canada as their top customer. And just to hammer home that point again, Canada exports more goods to the state of Michigan than it does to the entire European Union. The Canadian economy is more integrated than ever with that of our southern neighbors. Millions of jobs in all 3 countries depend on the success of NAFTA. The government estimates 3.5 million jobs in this country are supported by trade. And one study suggests dismantling the deal would cost as many as 85,000 jobs in the first year alone, and business investment in Canada would plunge by $3 billion.
Here's what else we're working on tonight on The National. Why the Conservatives want to crack down on who automatically gets Canadian citizenship.
Plus, Ottawa greenlights a new roadside test for cannabis. There are enough concerns already about the device that lawyers are prepping their defense.
But first, a convicted murderer who says he developed PTSD committing the crime. So why is the government footing the bill for his treatment? Christopher Garnier did not serve a single day in the armed forces. He is, however, serving a life sentence for second-degree murder. Still, Veterans Affairs is paying for his PTSD treatment. Tom Murphy explains why.
It was a case unlike any other this province has seen. A Halifax man meets an off-duty police officer in a bar. Hours later, Catherine Campbell is dead. Christopher Garnier strangled her, put her body in a compost bin, rolled it through town, and dumped it at the foot of the McDonald Bridge. It didn't take the jury long to find Garnier guilty.
All I want to say is that for almost 2.5 years, we've sought justice for Catherine, and today we feel we have justice for Catherine.
Now this, word that Veterans Affairs Canada is paying for treatment for Garnier, who the court decided acquired PTSD as a result of committing the murder. The families aren't speaking, but in a recent Facebook post, Campbell's aunt says she's sickened by this. Veterans advocates are seething.
There's outrage in the veteran community about it. Definitely. Tons of outrage.
Here's the thing. Garnier never served, but his father is a veteran. And so there's this from Veterans Affairs. When a man or woman serves in Canada's Armed Forces or the RCMP, their whole family serves with them. It goes on to say, counseling and other services may be provided if it is determined it will assist the veterans in achieving their rehabilitation goals. The logic goes something like this. If helping Christopher Garnier's PTSD helps his father, then Christopher Garnier, even if he killed someone, gets the treatment. Some are calling that perverse.
A lot of our veterans and still serving members are seeking help for PTSD and OSIs and are waiting in queue, but this fella is getting, I guess you would say, special treatment.
Not exactly, says Veterans Affairs, arguing 94% of veterans who apply for mental health supports are approved.
What's more, Veterans Affairs says it may also support other mental health services, including family and marital counseling and access to social work services. What irks some is that a convicted murderer is getting veteran support at all. Tom Murphy, CBC News, Halifax.
As birth tourism, expectant mothers traveling to foreign countries to have a child. Because in some places, including Canada, that new little baby automatically becomes a citizen just by virtue of being born on Canadian soil and thereby entitled to all the benefits that come with being a Canadian. It's all perfectly legal, but the Conservative Party wants it to stop. Briar Stewart takes a closer look.
At this hospital in Richmond, BC, more than 1 in 5 of all babies delivered last year were born to mothers that weren't residents of Canada, part of a birth tourism industry that the federal Conservatives want to crack down on.
We should fight for our own babies.
Thank you. At the party's convention, delegates endorsed a resolution to scrap the long-standing policy of giving citizenship to everyone born here. It's a step a former immigration official says would likely go too far.
If you make the change, that will adversely affect all Canadians. It'll make it more burdensome for them to provide identification. It'll be more costly.
But he acknowledges birth tourism is a problem that needs to be dealt with. Experts say there isn't a good sense of how big of an issue birth tourism is in Canada because the numbers aren't specifically tracked. But in BC, it is on the government's radar. There are reportedly more than 24 so-called birthing houses that cater to foreign mothers in this province. This one in Richmond advertises everything an expectant mother needs, from accommodation, meals, and free baby birth certificates and Canadian and Chinese passport services. A researcher who has interviewed some of the foreign mothers says most plan to raise their babies back in China, but they deliver here to get a coveted Canadian passport for their child.
Because they pay their own money for the medical health, and after give the birth, they brought their children go back to China immediately.
Part of that value system.
But Gary Liu says it's a matter of fairness.
Canadian stands for certain values.
He's part of a group behind a petition calling on the government to use the laws already in place.
Let's enforce bylaws, local bylaws. Local bylaws like, for example, in a residential area, you cannot have a birthing hotel.
By doing that, he says officials can crack down on the birth tourism industry without opening up an entire debate about just who should be eligible for Canadian citizenship. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Vancouver.
Less than 2 months to go before Canada's official legalization of cannabis. And as the date quickly approaches, police departments are still scrambling to be ready for it. Now, just because people will be free to use recreational weed doesn't mean they can break the law by driving under the influence. And that's going to mean roadside drug testing. But as Katie Nicholson reports, there are some real questions about the particular testing device Canada has approved.
The Draeger Drug Test 5000 analysis system doesn't just...
Sleek and futuristic, it may look like a Keurig coffee machine, but this is the future of Canadian drug testing.
The Draeger Drug Test 5000 is...
The Draeger 5000 tests saliva for the presence of THC, but a Norwegian study found it produces false positives 15% of the time. And it doesn't work that well in the cold. There are lots of devices out there, so why was the Draeger 5000 the first to get Canadian approval? The Canadian Society of Forensic Science, which sets the standards for science used in law enforcement, recommended the Draeger 5000 to the federal government. But the Society wouldn't explain why it chose the device. And that worries defense lawyer Kyla Lee.
That, to me, tells me that there's something in there that would cause us to question the reliability of the device. Because if everything that they tested in it showed great results all the time, they would be excited to share that with the public.
What the Forensic Society did share were the guidelines it created in selecting a drug testing device. One of those is that drug screening equipment shall be capable of being operated at an ambient temperature range of at least 5 degrees Celsius to 35 degrees Celsius. That's not what law enforcement wanted. Public Safety Canada, working with 7 different police forces, said the number one thing police wanted in a device was a high reliability in extreme cold temperatures. The Draeger's ideal temperature range? +4 to 40 degrees Celsius. The Police Association is unfazed by Draeger's potentially temperamental temperature limitations.
Am I confident that it's going to work perfectly right off the bat, or am I concerned that, whether or not the testing was as rigorous as it possibly could? I think you can always find issues with any piece of equipment like that.
Public Safety Canada says police officers will learn how to keep the Draeger units at their ideal operating temperature as a part of their training in how to use the device. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Toronto.
Okay, so clearly there are some questions about the technology, but what about getting offenders into the courtroom and prosecuting drug-impaired driving cases? Well, if drunk driving conviction rates are any indication, there might be some trouble ahead. Canada's overall conviction rate is relatively low, about 60% in 2015. Ontario was a bit better at 65%, but in Quebec, it was less than half. In BC, get this, only about a quarter of charges stuck. Now, that's partly due to the rise of a drunk driving legal defense industry, one that challenges the reliability and maintenance of alcohol testing devices. And as we've just heard, roadside drug testing has some challenges too. And considering THC remains detectable in the body much longer after use than alcohol, it's not hard to imagine a tidal wave of court challenges. In fact, a Statistics Canada report says drug-impaired driving cases already take twice as long to prosecute than drunk driving ones.
Lots of stories we are tracking tonight, including a major development in the shooting of a German tourist on a highway in Alberta earlier this month.
A 16-year-old male youth who was a resident of the Stoney Nakoda First Nation has been charged with 14 criminal code offenses, including attempted murder.
Now, we can't identify the suspect because of his age, but he did appear in court today accused of shooting a German tourist in the head, driving with his family at the time, about an hour west of Calgary. Motive is a big question mark in this case. Police don't think there was any kind of conflict leading up to the shooting, and they don't believe the suspect and victim knew each other. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau wants to take a closer look at implementing a full ban on handguns and assault weapons in Canada. He's tapped Bill Blair, his Minister of Border Security and Organized Crime Reduction, to look into how that might work while still allowing the lawful use of firearms. After last month's mass shooting in Toronto's Greektown, Trudeau made a promise to address the issue of gun violence.
This is a time for Puerto Ricans to bind together, to mourn.
And nearly a year after Puerto Rico was devastated by Hurricane Maria, officials now say nearly 3,000 people died as a result of the storm. That's a dramatic increase. Before today, the official death toll stood at 64. Researchers who compiled the new data say that that number was initially so low in part because doctors didn't know how to classify deaths after a disaster.
Still ahead tonight on The National, parents have a lot of decisions to make once a child is diagnosed with autism. Why some are turning to a controversial therapy that could do more harm than good.
Plus, for years, mail and packages have been piling up at the Israeli border. Now it's up to Palestinian postal workers to sort through it.
And thousands of bees decided to make a Times Square umbrella home. But don't worry, the NYPD actually has a guy for that. We'll tell you all about it in our moment of the day.
What's it doing in the middle of town? I mean, they can't really produce any honey up there, so we're in trouble.
Okay,
Okay, we got a lot of bins there.
Our search for food waste began in the bins behind Walmart a year ago.
Hey David, take a look at this packaged cauliflower. Not even past its best before date.
Week after week in several stores we found seemingly good produce, baked goods, dairy products, even frozen food that was still frozen.
This will disgust some people, but it's still good.
I can't believe you did that.
A lot were angry about all that waste. You told us and told Walmart. They have begun to change.
Since you guys visit us, we've reduced our overall food waste, so the food that you see in the bins by 20%.
We can't verify what's in the bins at every store, but 20% would be substantial. Thousands of pounds of food, driven by changes in the newest stores, cold rooms to keep produce fresh longer, expanding the discounting of packaged foods in advance of the best before date. And then there's this, a big one.
Apples, they might come in a bag where some of the bag is not good, and so we'll take the apples that are good, we'll sell them in a $1 bag.
As a big company increasingly takes food waste seriously, down the road a class is learning about how much gets tossed.
What'd you think of that?
Bad. Horrible. Disgusting.
These kids surveyed stores asked managers how things could change.
Hello, Mr. Chair and councilors.
They even pitched the idea of a refrigerated municipal truck picking up food instead of throwing it away.
A grocery store throws out 30 to 45 large bins of perfectly edible food each week, and all these people need help getting food. Why can't that food go on their tables, not in the landfill?
This is, I think, a real demonstration of how everyone can make a difference in this world.
Many people in the West Bank are finally receiving packages that were supposed to arrive years ago. Israeli authorities have released piles of mail which had been held at the border. It's meant as a goodwill gesture from Israel in the midst of a long-running, bitter conflict. Our Middle East correspondent Derek Stoffel was there as postal workers sorted through the backlog.
It was neither rain nor snow that was responsible for this mound of mail piling up in a warehouse in Jericho. Instead, blame yet another disagreement between the Palestinians and Israel, which occupies the West Bank.
They control for the borders. They wouldn't allow anything to cross through the borders without their permission. See, they control everything.
Israel agreed a decade ago to give the Palestinians more control over their postal services, but in practice, that's been slow to happen, meaning for years, parcels piled up in neighboring Jordan. In a statement to CBC News, Israeli authorities say all this mail was released as a gesture in a one-time agreement a few weeks ago.
And also this one from Morocco.
Now, Palestinian postal employees are working overtime to sort through 10 tons of letters and parcels. A lot of these packages came from China. They're things that Palestinians ordered online, including this TV that was supposed to be delivered 6 years ago. The recipient of this wheelchair has been waiting years for its delivery.
This one came from Jordan.
Some of the packages here were mailed as far back as 2010. Down the road at Jericho's main post office, the manager makes a call to let a customer know his letter is finally ready for pickup. It's a joyous moment for Saib Jabreen.
This is my high diploma from Greece.
Jabreen studied economics at a college on the island of Crete. He graduated more than a year ago and has been waiting for the certificate ever since. Why is this important to you?
This is my degree, you know, we studied this for living, this is my career. It means a lot for me. I spent 1 year apart from my family to get this.
Palestinian officials have accused the Israelis of using the post as one more method of exerting control over the Palestinian people. Millions of Palestinians live in other countries, including Jordan and Lebanon, and still rely on the mail.
Most people send gifts to their relatives inside Palestine,
And also people inside Palestine want to send postal items to their relatives outside of Palestine. So this is very important.
Palestine Post has brought in extra workers to clear the backlog, which they hope will happen in the next couple of weeks. Derek Stoffel, CBC News, Jericho.
Still ahead tonight on The National, Trump takes aim at Google, claiming search results only show bad stories about him.
Plus, is online fundraising a 21st century solution to America's expensive healthcare problem, or just a sign of how sick the system really is?
We kind of live pretty open about everything, but it's hard to admit that you need help. It's hard to admit that you can't do everything.
This is what a mega-thrust earthquake can do. A magnitude 9.0 off the coast of Japan 5 years ago. And beneath the beauty of mountains and ocean on Canada's west coast, the same kind of earthquake is waiting to strike. But at this Vancouver school, students and staff will get an early warning and a chance to take cover before the shaking starts.
Earthquake, shaking expected.
It's part of a pilot project for an earthquake early warning system designed by UBC.
It gives us a warning that we did not have before. We could only react at the impact of an earthquake. Now we have seconds, potentially minutes.
And even seconds can be critical. When an earthquake strikes, the energy released is sent out as seismic waves in all directions. The fastest waves, the waves that arrive first, don't actually shake the ground in a damaging way. In fact, we can't even feel these primary or P waves, but sensors can. There is a lag between those waves and the arrival of the more damaging waves that do shake the ground back and forth, shear or S waves. Those warnings can be sent out to mobile phones, radio and TV. They can stop traffic at bridges, halt surgeries. And the farther away you are from the epicenter, the more time you have between the warning and the shaking. Which is exactly what happened across the south coast of BC on December 29th. Kent Johansson and his family had a 13-second warning before the earth moved. Tell me what the earthquake felt like.
It felt like this.
Her dad is the designer behind UBC's earthquake early warning system, a network of sensors that work together to detect damaging earthquakes.
And here comes the S wave going up here. And now we're at 50 seconds, 51, 52, bang. That was 13 seconds, and now comes the North Shore.
Now Johansson is working on a home alarm and an app that the public can use to connect to the early warning network via the internet. UBC isn't the only group working on an earthquake early warning system in BC, though.
We have these sensors in the ground, and they're buried about 50 to 100 feet apart from one another, and they are constantly listening for earthquake activity, S wave, P waves.
Shake Alarm's technology uses standalone units rather than a network of sensors.
Earthquake approaching. Take cover.
There's an alarm here at the George Massey Tunnel, a major highway in Metro Vancouver where thousands of cars pass every day. The moment the sensor detects the first wave of a damaging earthquake, the tunnel closes to traffic. Their new home version also offers early warning for a monthly fee. There is one other major group working on a solution, Ocean Networks Canada. This research group from the University of Victoria has something that UBC and Shake Alarm don't, sensors on the ocean floor where the big one will strike, giving vital extra seconds of warning for all the early detection systems. And that's where the BC government is putting their money.
That's why we're providing Ocean Networks Canada with $5 million investment towards its seismic program.
The group will be adding more ocean sensors to help with early warnings, but their focus has been on detecting the big one, which will hit under the waters of the Pacific Ocean. So to create a comprehensive system, they'll be partnering with UBC and companies like Shake Alarm, who have the technology to actively monitor other quakes closer to home. And if all goes according to plan, the system should be in place within the next couple of years, hoping to ensure that when the next one hits, we all know before the shaking starts.
Tonight on The National, the ever-expanding problem of a giant sinkhole in Oxford, Nova Scotia. Since opening up at a park just over a week ago, this hole has grown to be more than 30 meters wide, swallowing up trees and picnic tables. Experts have been called in to try to figure out why it's happening, but for now, officials are simply warning the public to stay away. Also tonight, an update on Canadian tennis player Felix Auger-Aliassime after a health scare at the U.S. Open. The 18-year-old was forced to stop yesterday's match against fellow Canadian Denis Shapovalov after experiencing heart palpitations. According to Tennis Canada, he's doing all right now and everything is back to normal, but this has happened to him before. He reportedly thinks yesterday's episode was triggered by the heat and the stress. He's expected to take a few days off training. And WestJet and Air Canada are raising their checked bag fees for people buying lowest fare tickets. The cost of the first bag is going up from $25 to $30, and a second checked bag will cost $50, up from $30. The new fees are already in place for some flights, but will be fully implemented by both airlines by October. One of the reasons, rising fuel prices.
For parents, deciding how to help a child with autism can be overwhelming. Not all the treatment choices are proven. Some could even be harmful. Take chelation therapy, a controversial practice where metals are removed from a child's body. Why is it still available in Canada? Nicole Ireland has a closer look at the not-so-clear regulations around it.
It's nice, huh? Nice day.
When Anne Borden-King's pediatrician diagnosed her son Baxter with autism, it was a frightening conversation.
She took a very serious tone and said he needs to have very intensive therapy, and when they're young, it has to happen when they're young. There's a small window of time to help your child.
Borden-King says that fear drives parents to try any treatment they can to help their kids. She and her husband took a conventional approach, working with therapists and teachers to improve Baxter's communication and motor skills and helping him learn things like biking at his own pace. But when Borden-King started an online self-advocacy group for people with autism, she was alarmed to learn parents were trying lots of unproven interventions.
It's this Wild West, that someone put it, where there is no law that says that you can't do these things, such as giving, that I know of, such as giving a child chelation.
Chelation therapy is used to remove metals, such as lead or mercury, from the body. A drug is given, often intravenously, that grabs the metals. Then the patient excretes them, often through their urine. It's meant to be used if a person has metal poisoning, after an industrial accident, for example. At one point, some people believed removing heavy metals from the body could treat autism, a theory autism experts now agree has no scientific merit. So when Borden-King learned a medical doctor in Markham, Ontario was offering chelation therapy to children with autism, she filed a complaint with the Ontario College of Physicians and Surgeons. The college says it investigated, but found no evidence that Dr. John Ganache did anything wrong, and made a point of noting Borden-King had never met Ganache nor his patients personally. CBC News has obtained Dr. Ganache's response to the complaint. He confirms he offers chelation therapy to a small number of children with severe autism, but says he gets full consent from their parents, including clear communication that it is not standard practice. I have never harmed a child with my treatments, he says, yet believe that leaving behind damaging toxic metal burdens when I have the means to intervene during a critical window of opportunity is potentially harmful with long-term negative consequences. Ganache did not respond to CBC requests for an interview. Health Canada has not approved chelation drugs for autism, but says it has no jurisdiction over how doctors prescribe them. That falls under the complementary and alternative medicine policies of the provincial colleges of physicians and surgeons. Ontario's policy says doctors' decisions must be informed by evidence and science.
Chelation is a treatment for which we have no evidence of benefit and we have evidence of harm.
This neurologist specializing in autism says parents often ask about alternative treatments for their children. She's fine with many of them if they're used in conjunction with proven autism interventions, but she draws the line at chelation because it disrupts minerals in the blood and is just too dangerous.
We have seen anything from just causing heart arrhythmia, so irregular heart rhythm, to kidney damage, to damage to the heart muscle, all the way to death.
Ann Borden-King isn't giving up her fight. She's appealing the College of Physicians and Surgeons' decision and advocating for clearer regulations governing what autism treatments physicians can and can't recommend.
And so Nicole is with us now. You know, it's interesting, beyond the debate over the efficacy of this, or in fact, whether it actually does any harm, I'm presuming this is not a free procedure.
It's not, and like with so many alternative therapies, not covered under benefit plans, not covered under government insurance plans. And families that have children with autism have limited resources often. So they're investing this money, could be hundreds or thousands of dollars, in this therapy that's not proven to work. Doctors worry that they're not then investing money in other therapies that do work, so behavioral therapy, communication therapy, group dynamics, those kinds of things. And the other thing that doctors worry about is the fact that parents are investing their hope into these kinds of unproven therapies. And they say there is every reason to have hope. They've seen amazing success with some of these proven therapies, again, behavioral, speech, those kinds of things. There is every reason to be hopeful that children can go on to develop and live full lives.
Okay, Nicole Ireland, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Now, for people on the autism spectrum, finding meaningful employment can also be a challenge. Last year, we visited a company that was actually created with the goal of providing jobs for people with autism. And as Joanna Rimiliotis found out, business is booming.
Make sure the lobby bathrooms are cleaned up, please.
Here at the Rising Tide Car Wash in Fort Lauderdale, details are everything.
Right. Go and make sure the whole car is dry. The whole
And
outside.
Supervisor Matt is a stickler for
So
them.
help me dry down the car.
Every water drop, every soap spot has to be wiped perfectly clean.
See, there's a little bit of soap over here and a little bit over here.
On Saturdays, Matt comes in 3 hours early, just because.
3 hours early?
Mm-hmm.
That's dedicated.
That's dedicated, perfect.
Yeah. That makes you happy?
Yep. I'm making sure everybody's doing well in the business and we help each other out.
This is no ordinary car wash. It's a labor of love with a labor force that is giving this place an incredible advantage. 80% of everyone who works here is on the autism spectrum. Overlooked and considered unemployable before, their success now is inextricably linked to rising tides.
Make sure you get all four corners, right?
Tom Derry is the owner.
For most of our employees, this is their first job. Most of our employees would be sitting at home, probably playing video games, probably not having a whole lot of friends. Let's box and fill all the way around that window, dude.
Tom doesn't just know this, he's lived it.
There we go, that's a good window.
You see, the inspiration for Rising Tide, for making a conscious decision to provide employment for people on the spectrum, came from Tom's brother Andrew.
How do you feel about getting up in the morning and having a job to go to?
Getting up in the morning, it's kind of exhausted.
That part, yeah, you don't like so much.
The Derry family bought the car wash to give Andrew and people like him a job.
People with autism are exceptionally capable. In fact, the only reason there's such high unemployment among people with autism is because we as a society look at autism as a disability that requires sympathy instead of a really valuable diversity. So we wanted to prove that that was the case, that people with autism really have a lot to bring to the table. So we wanted to build a brand and a business around their capabilities.
And the profits are soaring. When the Derrys bought the business 4 years ago, it was servicing 35,000 cars a year. Now it's up to 160,000, proving the Derry's point that autistic adults need jobs, not charity.
We're trying to essentially blow that up and say, yes, when people with autism are young, there's hurdles that they have to go over, just like all of us, but many of them work super hard, overcome those things, and are ready to be really capable people in the workforce when they become adults. And if we're overly brazen about how awesome they are, it's just because we get to work with them every day and we get to see it. You're gonna work with Jonathan, all right?
I know he's your brother and you have a bit of a bias, but Andrew, how do you think you're doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah? Are you like a valued employee?
I'm a valuable employee.
Yeah. What makes you good?
I do the process very great.
And what else?
And earn money.
How do you feel about that?
I feel great for that.
Business is doing so well, The dairies are now opening a second location. They haven't even posted any jobs and have gotten more than 700 calls from potential applicants, all of them with that one specific qualification, the autism advantage. Joanna Rumiliotis, CBC News, Fort Lauderdale.
Still ahead on The National, Americans turning to crowdfunding to settle medical bills and what it means for the overall health of the country. But first, a tribute to a queen. Aretha Franklin was born in Memphis, but lived and died in Detroit. And today, thousands of people descended on her hometown to pay their last respects. They started arriving in the middle of the night.
She cared for the people, and so the people are here just to say thank you.
And by the time the sun rose over Detroit, fans from as far away as Las Vegas and Miami were lined up around the block.
She's been putting her love into people for more than 60 years, and this is the result.
Franklin's gold-plated casket was wheeled into this African-American history museum, a nod to the weight her voice carried.
When I saw them carrying that casket in, I just got chills. I got so nervous and so weak that I couldn't even take the picture. It was just awesome.
Inside, Franklin's own gospel music played on. Her casket, like her legacy, laid open.
For me to even lay eyes on it like that, it helped me out a lot, you know, because it was a part of Detroit history.
I wanted to thank her for her legacy, for her contributions to civil rights.
People have until tomorrow night to say their personal goodbyes to the Queen of Soul. A star-studded public funeral fit for royalty is set for this Friday.
Reconciliation. It's a word you often hear, especially when discussing the relationship between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples in Canada. But in light of recent events, some aren't sure they even want to talk about reconciliation anymore. When a 15-year-old Anishinaabe girl was found dead, dumped in a river and no one was held responsible, and a young Cree man was shot dead and the shooter was acquitted. Both of these recent cases have re-exposed a deep rift between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples in Canada. It's a divide that goes back hundreds of years. When Europeans arrived in North America and began settling the land, they didn't stop at just taking land from Indigenous peoples. They brought with them a policy to snuff out the so-called Indian problem. The first Indian residential schools started opening in the 1870s. It's the beginning of what some have called the darkest chapter in Canadian history.
What took place in residential schools amounts to nothing short of cultural genocide.
By 1920, the Indian Act was amended to make it mandatory for status Indian children to attend residential school. When their parents refused to send them away, police showed up and forcibly took them. It's estimated that 150,000 children were taken from their families and placed in these schools where they were stripped of their culture and their language. The goal was assimilation, to quote, kill the Indian in the child. Thousands of children died, with some estimates saying the mortality rate was as high as 60% in some of the schools. Those who survived have shared horrific stories of physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. The last residential school closed in 1996. The impacts of those institutions are still palpable today. Indigenous communities have shown incredible resilience in the centuries since Europeans arrived, but the impacts of intergenerational trauma and colonization still run deep. In 2007, the largest class action settlement in Canadian history recognized the damage inflicted by residential schools. Canada formally apologized the following year.
These objectives were based on the assumption that Aboriginal cultures and spiritual beliefs were inferior and unequal. Indeed, some sought, as was infamously said, to kill the Indian in the child. Today, we recognize that this policy of assimilation was wrong, has caused great harm, and has no place in our country.
The Residential School Settlement Agreement established a multi-billion-dollar fund to support survivors in their recovery. One of the outcomes of this agreement was the Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
The commission traveled across the country and heard testimony from thousands of residential school survivors. In 2015, the commission produced its final report. It included 94 calls to action, calls meant to redress the legacy of the residential school system and hopefully lead to reconciliation. So what's changed since then? Some ask if this country has even grasped the truth of our shared history. What actions have been taken? How far have we come? Indigenous people currently account for roughly 5% of the population, and yet nearly half of all the children in care in this country are Indigenous. More than a quarter of the adults locked up in prisons are Indigenous. The National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls may be well underway, but the deaths and disappearances continue today. It's time to take a hard look at this country's progress on reconciliation.
There are thousands and thousands of campaigns at this point, and so many compelling, tragic stories that it is overwhelming.
Imagine having to rely on the kindness of strangers just to pay your medical bills. A growing number of sick Americans are now resorting to online crowdfunding campaigns just to stay afloat. Earlier this year, we brought you the story of a New York couple going through this very dilemma. A liver transplant put Andy Bratton's health under severe strain, and it put him and his partner into deep debt. Tonight, we take another look at how they went public to claw their way out and what stories like theirs mean for the country as a whole. Stephen D'Souza has their story.
A little extra protein.
1 month after his kidney transplant, Andy Bratton can't take any chances with his breakfast. There's a long list of foods that could hurt his recovery.
The fear is bacteria because part of my immune system is so low, and they're suppressing part of it to make sure that the liver doesn't get rejected.
He has to keep a strict schedule.
There's the secondary pill alarm. In case the first one doesn't go, take pills. With flashing lights and everything.
So this is my calcium. This is my Cellsup, which is an anti-rejection meds.
If that wasn't hard enough to swallow, after the pills comes the bills. There's a seemingly endless stream of them. And even with decent insurance, he and his husband, Matthew, have found themselves in a hole.
So they paid $10,000 of the $13,000.
In the days after his surgery, with the reality of how expensive it is to get sick in America setting in, Andy's friends convinced the couple to turn to the crowd for help. They created a GoFundMe page. They put Andy's story online and spread the word to family and friends. Their initial goal was $10,000.
We kind of live pretty open about everything, but it's hard to admit that you need help. It's hard to admit that you can't do everything.
He's not the only one who's felt they had nowhere else to go. The last few years has seen an explosion of campaigns to crowdfund medical expenses. Everything from major surgeries to experimental drugs to everyday medications. The majority end up on GoFundMe, which touts itself as a digital safety net. The site says more than a third of the money raised in 2017 went to medical campaigns. But because users don't always file healthcare campaigns in the medical category, they admit that number is probably higher. In fact, a 2016 study found that $930 million of the $2 billion GoFundMe had raised since 2010 went to medical campaigns. The CEO of GoFundMe told CBC, "I think in a perfect world, GoFundMe wouldn't be necessary. But in the imperfect world in which we live, you have to have something." He said the growth in medical crowdfunding is a symptom of a sick system, one where 47% of Americans said they couldn't find $400 for an emergency.
These are potential campaigns that are meant to give you hope.
But is crowdfunding a suitable crutch for a hobbled system? Lauren Berliner with the University of Washington Bothell has been studying medical campaigns.
This is something we see as a canary in a coal mine.
She says in U.S. states where the government didn't expand Medicare, they found an increase in people looking for online donations.
I don't think the general public is really thinking about how medical crowdfunding is signaling more of a problem than it is a solution.
They also found that it's a system where those in the most need don't always get the most help. Winning campaigns are those that can market their illness the best or are lucky enough to go viral.
There are thousands and thousands of campaigns at this point, and so many compelling, tragic stories that it is overwhelming.
Photos of a healthy subject, a good hashtag, those all help. So too does having a curable illness.
To put it in a really crude way, so that the possible donors feel like they're getting a return on their investment.
I don't know if you've seen the filtering.
In the Vancouver office of crowdfunding site Fundraiser, CEO Daryl Hatton sees that drama unfold on a daily basis. He says the majority of the medical campaigns on his site are American. Canadians are there too, but mostly for things not covered by government health care. He says the few campaigns that are lucky enough to go viral skew expectations for everyone else.
Only if your story is really compelling and gets some media coverage does it go much beyond friends or friends of them out into a broader marketplace. So it's really unrealistic to expect that high level of funding to happen.
Berliner found 90% of the cases they studied didn't reach their goal, and about 10% raised less than $100. Hatton says the current growth of medical crowdfunding can't be sustained. Eventually, donor fatigue will set in.
There's only so much we can support friends and family with kind of crowd insurance around our health care. Really, there's got to be more systemic ways to deal with that.
$16,445 as of today.
Andy and Matt are among the lucky ones. They reached their $10,000 goal thanks to a strong network of family and friends and connections in New York's theater scene. Matt's company also promised to match any donations made by his coworkers. They've now raised their goal to $30,000.
The outpouring has been amazing.
How does it make you feel?
Really loved and really appreciated and thankful.
And just as important as the money, he says the words and thoughts shared through the site have given him strength, something he thinks more and more Americans will need to turn to in the years ahead. Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, New York.
Earlier this summer, we checked in on Bratton. He said he's doing very well, that his body seems to be accepting the new liver. He's also happy to report that he's debt-free, and he sent us this. Not sure where that is, but it looks like he and his husband Matthew have had a pretty decent summer.
Coming up next on The National, we head to New York for our moment of the day. It's horrifying, but first, U.S. President Donald Trump floated a new theory today. This time, he targeted Google, accusing the world's largest search engine of skewing its results.
Yeah, I think Google is really taking advantage of a lot of people, and I think that's a very serious thing, and it's a very serious charge.
Trump's beef that Google is mostly showing unfavorable news about him. He tweeted this very early this morning. Google search results for Trump news shows only the viewing, reporting of fake news media. In other words, they have it rigged for me and others so that almost all stories and news is bad.
They're really treading on very, very troubled territory, and they have to be careful. It's not fair to large portions of the population.
While it's true, a lot of stories about Trump are negative, it's also kind of hard to put a positive spin on the conviction of Paul Manafort, the guilty plea of Michael Cohen, or Trump calling Omarosa Newman a dog. Google shot back today, saying in a statement, when users type queries into the Google search bar, our goal is to make sure they receive the most relevant answers in a matter of seconds. Search is not used to set a political agenda, and we don't bias our results toward any political ideology. It should be noted that the top Google search results for Trump today had Fox News near the top, which seemed to undermine his claims of suppression.
Nearly 1,000 people died last year from overdoses in BC. That's a huge spike in numbers from previous years. Many of those deaths have been linked to fentanyl, a game-changing opioid that's 100 times more powerful than heroin. But how is this powerful drug reaching users? According to border officials, China is the main source of fentanyl coming into Canada. Canada's economic and social ties with China create ample opportunities for small packages to get smuggled into the country through shipping routes or via the thousands of visitors to BC each year. A simple search of buy fentanyl online produces numerous sellers, including one foreign pharmacy that promises 100% anonymity and privacy. The suppliers often place the drugs in decoy packaging, promising undetectable parcels packed carefully with tungsten and carbon papers that can easily pass through customs X-ray machines and onto planes bound for Vancouver. Sometimes fentanyl has been found hidden in shipments in Vancouver's air cargo operations. But the majority of fentanyl seizures in British Columbia happen at the Vancouver International Mail Centre. Border officials can only open mail that weighs more than 30 grams and need the importer's permission to open smaller packages. Once fentanyl is in Canada, it's trafficked by drug cartels and gangs, and also by loan operators into the black market. Since most of the fentanyl coming into the country is in powder form, it's pressed into pills here. As for where the demand for fentanyl is coming from, the users are pretty diverse. Fentanyl is cheap to make, so distributors have been lacing drugs with it to give their users an extra kick. The drug affects not only people dependent on prescription opioids, but also severely addicted illicit drug users and recreational users who aren't aware that it's been cut into their drugs. That's why it's claimed the lives of people in the downtown east side and also teenagers from affluent neighborhoods. So what is being done to choke the supply and demand chain? While China and Canada have agreed to coordinate policing efforts to crack down on illicit fentanyl and other opioids, we just don't know what that will look like yet. And some provinces are taking action to ban or regulate pill presses, while police are also working on developing new techniques to help them detect the drugs. A bill is also sitting in Parliament that, if passed, would allow border officials to open packages they find suspicious that weigh less than 30 grams. Still, almost everybody working on the issue agrees we're not going to solve this problem by arresting our way out of it or more drug seizures at the border. What's needed is a more coordinated approach from all levels of government, better education, and better treatment programs.
So on a normal day, Times Square is a busy tourist attraction. There's flashing billboards, there's huge crowds, there's people performing in the street. But as you can see there by that picture, today wasn't normal thanks to one attraction you will not find in a guidebook. A swarm of bees turned a hot dog stand umbrella into their hive. Luckily, the NYPD was on the case, as they do, dispatching their beekeeper, apparently they have one, to vacuum up the bees, and that got people buzzing. It's our moment of the day.
Literally the craziest thing I've seen. And I'm allergic to bees.
We had an announcement actually over the PA, and they were saying, okay, the 43rd and 7th is actually shut down due to a swarm of bees.
It's scary. What's it doing in the middle of town?
It's fantastic that they should develop it in a atmosphere like this.
The bees were out there probably for a good 40 minutes, I want to say, before someone actually came to vacuum them up.
I mean, they can't really produce any honey up there, so we're in trouble.
I want to see it, but keep my distance away from it.
It was a huge swarm. There was the giant swarm that was actually on the umbrella, but apparently I had a few people that did go outside to look at it. There were bees everywhere on that street.
The horror! The police estimate there were 25,000 bees out there. And Times Square, I mean, it looks big, but it's actually pretty concentrated. So horrifying.
Well, it's the honey mustard for the hot dogs that did it. We know that. I don't know if you caught that there is an NYPD patch on that beekeeper's jacket, which had us thinking, do they have a patch and a uniform for everything? There are apparently 2 beekeepers at the New York Police Department, They have their own Twitter account, which was, I can't imagine what it does on a normal day, but today it was very busy live tweeting this. It now has an awful, many more followers, including me.
Yeah, well, I'll just say I'm like the first guy. I'm allergic to bees too, so I find the whole thing terrifying. Yikes. So thank goodness
well, there's a downer. Awesome.
There.
Right. Well, have a good sleep tonight, Anna.
That's the National for this August 28th. Have a good night.
Good night. Bye.